Hello, everybody. Hello.
Hey, Miss Dickerson.
Hey, I don't know where I went. I was there a minute ago. Okay, here I am. It is, y'all know it's 3 o'clock. So who do I have? Who do I have on? I have Miss McBride. I see Miss McBride.
Oh.
Hi, how are you?
Dickerson.
Hey, I don't know where I went. I was there a minute ago. I know I was too, and I see Bill. So, and I see.
Delia Myers is present.
Okay.
Who do I
have on? I have Miss McBride. I see Miss McBride.
Yep.
Yeah, present.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have Michelle. I'm gonna call the ANF. And I see Bill. And I see
Delia Myers is present.
Who do I have on? I have Miss McBride. I see Miss McBride. Hello. Okay, well, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 3 o'clock as determined, and I do have a quorum. So with that, I will ask Miss Michelle. Miss Michelle, are you the one calling the roll for?
Yes, sir.
Hello. I hear a lot of. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 3 o'clock as determined, and I do have a quorum. So with that, I will ask Miss Michelle. Miss Michelle, are you the one calling the roll for?
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay, Michelle, please call the roll.
Yes, ma'am. Malinowski.
Here.
Dickerson.
Here.
McBride.
Here.
Walker. Myers.
Okay.
Here.
We do have a quorum, so I will ask for a motion to approve the agenda. As you all know, this is the agenda that we have from the previous meeting that we could not complete, and so this is like, I guess, a special call ANF meeting to complete those items. And so with that, I ask for a motion to approve the agenda as outlined.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the agenda as outlined.
I'll
second it.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, Bill Malinowski, I have a couple comments here.
Yeah.
Thank you. It needs to be listed on the cover page as a special called meeting, and on every one of our agenda briefing sheets, the very first item where it has the meeting date, it has remained June 23rd. All of those just need to be changed to today's date, June 30th, and that is all. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Michelle, can you make those changes? Everybody all right with those changes Mr. Malinowski brought forward for the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, with that, I'll make a motion. We have a motion on the floor, and it's been approved to approve the agenda with those amendments. Ms. Michelle, would you please call the roll?
Malinowski.
Yes.
Dickerson.
Yes.
McBride.
Yes.
Walker. Myers.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so very much. We have, I hope we got these items lined up correctly here. I've got them basically from the last meeting that we had. So items for action will be item 3A through H. So the first item will be item 3A, sewer drive culvert repair project. And staff, do you have any comments on this item? Mr. Brown?
Mrs. Dickerson, John Thompson here.
Yes, sir, Mr. Thompson.
All right, may I brief you on item 3A?
Please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So item 3A, staff recommends awarding the contract for a culvert repair beneath Sweetwater Drive. And the estimated cost for the repair is $357,950. The department already has a budget for this amount for the drainage maintenance. And the reason for this repair, first of all, is a county maintained road, and the 4 corrugated metal pipes that run underneath the road is deteriorating. And so we need to go ahead and make the necessary so that we don't have a massive blowout. We have the lowest responsive bidder of Vortex Services. They will be able to do the necessary repairs. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, y'all heard the explanation for this. Do I have any questions on this item?
Madam Chair, I have a quick question. This is Delia.
Yes, ma'am.
Myers.
Ms. Myers, you are recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson, Dr. Thompson,
Yes, ma'am.
so you all are recommending that this be repaired rather than replaced, that the steel pipes, the concrete pipes be, I guess, covered over with a layer of concrete. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. So it's a spray application. I'm going to
Right. Right.
yield to Ms. Synithia Williams, but yes, it's a spray application.
That's what I understood. So my question is, what is the life of the spray application concrete versus replacing the pipes, the steel pipe, the concrete pipes? And I know it would require closing the road and all that stuff. I understand what your briefing document has said, but what life are we getting out of this method versus the other method, and what is the cost differential? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. If Ms. Synithia Williams, if you could respond to Councilwoman Myers' question, I would greatly appreciate it.
Sure. Hey, this is Synithia Williams, the stormwater manager in the Department of Public Works. By using this spraying of the reinforced geocrete liner, is the same as putting in concrete pipes. So we get the same kind of life cycle costs that we would get from taking out the metal pipes and putting in concrete pipes. So it's still 20+ years off of doing this. The benefit is the not having to close the road and tear up the whole road, because Sweetwater is a one-way in, one-way out road. And so that way we won't inconvenience residents and can still get the same life cycle costs by doing this application of concrete through the inside.
That answer your question, Ms. Myers?
Yes, ma'am. I just have two quick follow-ups. What
keep
would be
going.
the cost to replace the pipes?
So we don't have the cost to replace them. I would have to go back out because they would take in the cost of tearing up the road, mobilizing, and purchasing these large pipes. So I do not have that. If you want that, I can get that before it moves on. But we tried to find something where we could quickly and efficiently respond to the deteriorating pipes that were out there.
No, I get it. I just wondered if that's the case, why we don't always do this, why we would ever tear up a road. So there must be some logic to tearing up the road and putting in new pipes as opposed to this. So that's what I was trying to get at, and making sure that we're doing it all the same everywhere. Thank you.
No, I understand. We are trying to hear and hopefully can do this more often, so that we can respond to these similar type of situations around the county using a similar type of application.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any further questions on this particular item?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I have my hand up there.
Yes, sir. I can't really, put your hand up, Bill, so I can see. Okay, I can.
Okay, here you go.
Screen.
There
You
it is.
recognize Mr. Malinowski.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Myers, you must have been looking at my notes. I had the exact same questions there. While you're telling us that you don't have that cost, I would still like to see that cost of replacing the pipe by the time it gets to council. Ballpark figures, fine. We don't need to hire somebody to pay them a bunch of money to give us that price. And with the expertise we have in the county, I would hope we could come up with that. Also, you made the statement that it would last 20 years. Do we have any warranty that goes with this type of spray and work being done by this company?
That's something that we can get. They do have that. I did not include that in the briefing document, but yes, we can get that for you.
Okay, I would like that also by the time this gets to council, if it's so voted to move it forward. Thank you.
I'd like to follow up on that, on those two questions that both of the Ms. Myers and Mr. Malinowski have. Would y'all please make note of that? And when it comes back to council, would you please have those questions answered? For God's sakes, don't have us coming there and saying, well, we asked the questions and like Mr. Malinowski constantly asks, and I don't have my information. So I would love for you all to make notes and make sure that we have this information when it comes to council, if it goes to council. If there are no further questions on this item, I entertain a motion.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it as long as we've got our answers.
All right, it's probably moved in second. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor signify by Miss Only, will you please call the roll on this for me, please?
Yes, ma'am. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Walker, Myers.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next item will be item 3B, Melanie Garden Stream Ditch Stabilization Construction Contract. If you all notice, the information for that is on page 9 through 12. I will entertain a
Mrs.
motion.
Dickerson?
Hello? Somebody's phone is not muted. Somebody asked me a question. I can't tell who.
Mrs. Dickerson, John Thompson here. Could I brief you?
Yes,
Item?
yes, sir, Mr. Thompson, Dr. Thompson, you recognize to give me a briefing on item 3B.
Thank you, ma'am. So Ms. Dickerson and members of the A&F committee, for this particular item, staff has money in the budget for this project. It is to enhance Melody Gardens ditch stream stabilization. And so part of this project, it involves 1,700 linear feet of stream that has experienced a significant amount of erosion and sedimentation. And so as part of this project, the staff will go in with the contractor to install vegetated soil lifts and conduct floodplain grading to increase bank stability, to reduce erosion for homeowners, and to provide a small improvement in floodplain relief. The winning bid, we have the lowest responsive bidder is KCI Technologies, and we have 6 bids for this particular project. And the bid amount is $172,550, which is 14% less than the engineer's estimate. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, and Ms. Dr. Thompson, I believe this is in Councilwoman McBride's district. Did you all have a conversation with her regarding this matter?
On this particular one, Ms. Synithia Williams has been in contact with her. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Williams.
Sorry. Hey, this is Synithia Williams, Storm Manager. When we first put the project out to get the engineer to do the design, I did notify Ms. McBride about that. But now that we've gotten the bids in, this is just the next step, and I will continue to keep her up to date as the project moves forward if it's approved today.
All right, well, thank you, Ms. McBride. Do you have any questions? Mr. Malinowski, I see your hand. Mr. Malinowski, you
Hey,
ready?
Mr. Malinowski. Mhm.
Okay,
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question, Dr. Thompson, I didn't see it anywhere. Who owns this? Is this private property or county property or what?
Ms. Williams, please advise.
Okay, this is a ditch that the county has maintenance over. We currently go out there and also do beaver trapping. And since it is a ditch that we currently maintain, when we notice the significant erosion, we wanted to also try to address that as well.
Okay, and I'm wondering, are there any flood funds left from that Blue Ribbon Committee that maybe could address any of this if we actually can show that major storm did damage to this? Have you checked that?
At the time this project came up, the 2015 flood money had already been allocated, and we had already proceeded with paying for it with county budgeted funds by the time the additional mitigation grant funding came down. So no, it wasn't looked at because it came up kind of in between those funding sources.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. McBride, you recognize since this is in your district?
No, I support it. It's on the edge of my district, but I have not been in conversation on this particular one, but I know that there are a number of ditches out there, so it's needed. So thank you.
Okay, well,
Ms. Dickerson, just a
Yes,
quick
okay.
follow-up.
yes.
Ms.
Myers,
Williams,
you
I didn't hear you answer directly Mr. Malinowski's question. He asked who owned the ditch. You said we maintain it, but you didn't answer whose ditch it is. I just want, out of curiosity.
Yeah, that's right,
Well,
right.
yeah, it's in a neighborhood. The property lines do go up to the ditch area. And when we have easements on ditches like these, we go in and we clean, cut back beaver traps. So with an easement, the property owner, yes, still technically owns the property, but the county has the easement for maintenance to maintain and take care of it. And so when we have those easements for maintenance on these ditches, then yes, we try to go in. If it requires more than just cleaning and cut back, it may need to be a larger project, such as this one and another ditch that we did last year in a different council district.
How does the county get an easement maintenance over private property? What's the public purpose?
For this was an easement that the counties had for years. It goes back to the 80s or 90s. I'd have to look at. Yeah, I'd have to look at the
It's a
original.
long time.
Yeah.
So I'm not disagreeing with the
Yeah.
project. I'm asking generally,
Mhm.
if a private property owner can grant the county an easement to maintain their ditch, what is the public purpose and what is the financial impact? Because I know a lot of private property owners that would love to do that.
Well, see, this is a ditch in a stream. And so like if we're looking at a larger capital project,
Got
say
it.
if
Now
we're
I
seeing
understand.
there's some flooding
The stream
problems.
issue is different. Yep.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further discussion on this item, was a motion and it was seconded, is that correct?
If not, I'll move, Madam Chair, to accept
Okay.
it.
All right, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, properly moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Only, will you please call the roll on this item?
Yes, ma'am. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes,
McBride,
Yes.
Walker, Myers.
Yes.
okay, thank you so very much. Item number 3 will be the placement of metal storage building at Eastover Camp for a Department of Public Work, Roads and Drainage Division. Please look on page, on my agenda, I have page 13 through 21 for that particular explanation on this particular item. Dr. Thompson, did you want to chime in? Or
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for
Okay.
the opportunity. So for
Yes.
this one, the Department of Public Works staff is requesting a new metal storage building at Eastover Camp. The projected cost for this item is $198,688. The department already has a budget for this in the amount of $225,000 replacement of this metal building. And the reason why staff wants this new structure is because in 2012, a large snowstorm caused the existing storage building. And so that's why we need a new one. And the reason is so that we can preserve our equipment, dump trucks, backhoes, slope mowers, and other items that are out in the elements. So this is a great opportunity to preserve what we have, this new structure. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Myers, I would like to ask, are you familiar with this particular item? Because I didn't brief you on it.
Not at all. I just read it in the brief, in the documents
You
when I
just
got
read
them
it in
last
the
week.
document. It was in our previous document. I didn't know whether you paid.
Yeah.
You were busy
No,
at
ma'am,
that
but
time.
I think it's a fine project and it's needed so that we can secure the equipment. It's very expensive equipment, so I'd move to approve it.
I have a motion to approve that here.
Second.
Mr. Mallon, probably moved in second. It's probably moved in second. Mr. Malinowski for discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support this motion and moving forward. My only question is if Dr. Thompson or whoever can give the answer is, why have we waited since 2012 to come forward and ask this council for a building to protect hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment? It's been sitting out in the elements for 8 years. Why hadn't this been before us before now?
Dr. Thompson, please.
Yes,
try-
ma'am. I'm going to defer to our staff. Ask Mr. Stephen Staley or Director Maloney to respond to Mr. Malinowski's question.
Please, one of you, please respond and identify yourself.
Maloney just got here. I don't think he'll
Hey.
know the answer.
Yes, this is Director Maloney. I don't have the answer for that. I can tell you that we're doing it now. If Mr. Staley knows the delay, but it was budgeted for in the biennial budget, and we're going forward. I think at one time there was an overscope done that was shown to me that had significant improvements that may have been brought as too expensive some time ago, and this is a simple design building. As you can see, a lean-to with 2 open, 2 closed garages, secure building for essential equipment that has sort of a double siding.
Mr. Maloney, let me interrupt you here. I know, I see what it all is. We don't need to waste time on describing everything here. I just wanted an answer as to why we waited so long, and somebody give me that later, and let's just move on with this, council. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Maloney, would you have the answer for us when we come back? And I mean, let Mr. Malinowski say, would you make it brief, short, sweet, and to the point? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We have a second. We have a motion and a second on this item. All in favor, Ms. Will you please call the roll on this item?
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Walker, Myers.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. The next item will be item 3D, award a contract for Richland County 33-6 B 2020 Riverwalk and Stockland Drive resurfacing. That's on page 22 through 31. Who is in Public Works would like to address this item really briefly for me?
Mrs. Dickerson, John Thompson here. I would love.
Okay, Dr. Thompson, you are recognized.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And so this request for resurfacing of Riverwalk and Stockland Drive and the Riverwalk subdivision, the request came to us by way of the County Transportation Committee. They received from citizens. And so, as you mentioned, it's $430,000 for this project. And this bid comes under an engineer's estimate by 38%.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm familiar with this as it's mostly in my district. I don't know what spills over into Ms. Malinowski, but I know most of it's in District 2. So, but anyhow, I don't have a problem with that. But if I entertain a motion, so if we have any for discussion, Mr. Malinowski, you reckon?
I would make a motion to approve for discussion.
I have second, Ms. McBride. Mr. Malinowski, you recognize for discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple questions I have of Dr. Thompson, and that is from what I read in the discussion portion here, Richland County did not make a request of the CTC, but rather citizens directly approached CTC and made this request. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Malinowski.
Okay, does Richland County have a ranking of roads for repaving or resurfacing purposes?
That is at this time part of what we consider the draft comprehensive road improvement and maintenance plan. We will be able to have a ranking, chance to assess these roads, and so that's something that Director Maloney and his team are currently working on as we get into the next fiscal year, which begins tomorrow.
Okay, so we don't have any ranking right now, so we don't know if these particular roads would be number 1 or number 101, correct?
That is very correct, sir.
Okay, now.
Point of order, Mr. Malinowski, point of order, please.
Yes, Ms.
The briefing document says that this road is not on any upcoming resurfacing project.
It's not.
And that's kind of where I'm going here, Ms. Myers, and that is that if citizens are allowed to directly approach CTC with requests, those requests are entertained and approved without any county input, well then why do we why are we going to create some ranking order? Why don't we just let the citizens go there? I mean, is this legally allowed for the CTC to just tell the county, hey, some citizens asked for this and we're going to approve it for your county? It seems to me there should be a criteria that's used by the CTC to determine if these roads need resurfacing by the county to the exclusion of all others in the county. And I'd like to know who the persons requesting this were, who they made those requests of, who and how this was vetted, and the details of that meeting and how it was voted on. Because this certainly is taking the authority away from Richland County to decide how we would like our CTC funds spent. Thank you,
Well,
ma'am.
Mr. Malinowski, let me chime in. This is, I think, we've been having this discussion on other roads and how they've been coming to council. And I think somebody mentioned at one council meeting that the loudest, what is the squeaky wheel get the oil and all this.
Yeah.
I truly agree with you that this is so, well, I know about it, but no one approached me and asked me to bring this to council. So I'm not exactly sure. Like you said, the CTC people approached it. I think we had a couple other these in a couple other districts that they were saying about they wanted these roads and sidewalks and things done. But there was like Ms. Myers, I think maybe it was Ms. Myers was saying the squeaky wheel get the oil, and they have through the vetted process so that we can actually do them and rank them. So I have a problem with this road not being ranked. So I totally am in agreement with you, Mr. Malinowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm also.
Any further discussion?
I have two questions along the lines of Mr. Malinowski.
Yes.
Dr. Thompson, as well, you all have a bid in here and a proposed provider. Some company, it's a company out of Conway. There
Yes,
were no
ma'am.
Richland County companies that could build this.
I'm going to ask Public Works to chime in.
Who's from Public Works that will be able to address this question?
This is Director Maloney. This was put out for bid. The recommendation is the low responsive bidder.
Understood. My second question is, with regard to how this came to the county, can the staff just answer the question of who brought it to us? Did it come directly to us from the CTC?
It didn't come from me, I can tell you that.
Yes, I believe on the January 10 letter, which is on page 30, that is the letter from CTC to the county engineer indicating this award at that time. Is Mr. Staley out there?
I don't see Mrs. Staley.
By phone? Anyhow, yeah, I don't have the answer as far as whether CTC provided that information as far as who initiated the request. We will have to look into that.
I would agree with Mr. Malinowski, given the desperate state that many of our roads are in and the desperate state that many of our citizens are in, to have their roads resurfaced and some of them just plain paved. I have some concern that citizens unidentified can just directly approach the CTC and tell us which roads are priorities in terms of funding and timing of the funding. I'd also like to note that if we're going to lose this CTC funding, I'm in favor of figuring out how to move forward with the money on a road that's on our roads list, as opposed to just giving up the funding. But this whole analysis, and the way this came before us, does cause me some concern. I'd like to know if Mr. Brown approved this to be, I don't know whose phone that is, which I did know, but
Someone need to mute their phone.
Not mine.
I'm sorry. This is Stephen Staley. I'm having some trouble with my iPad here, but I'm finally got it unmuted. So I just had one thing to add about this
Mr.
road.
Staley, can I ask my question of Mr. Brown?
Oh, I'm
before
sorry.
you? I'm
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
If Mr. Brown is in the Zoom conference, after Mr. Staley finishes, I'd also like to know if this was brought to you and if there is a method that you have approved to allow staff to bring these kinds of requests before council. Thank you.
Okay, just a little bit of history on this. When it came to the CTC, our penny department had already paved a section of this road, of one of these roads. They paved like the middle portion, and so it goes through the entire subdivision. And the citizens, a lot of the citizens were kind of upset, really upset about why would they just pave a little portion and not the whole road. So I think that's how it started, and it went to CTC. We sent our transportation engineer out there to take a look at it, and he did after looking at it and inspecting it, that it did need resurfacing.
Mr.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead. I'll
Yes,
wait.
yes.
This is Staley line.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Ms.
done.
McBride?
Well, I'll wait for Ms. Myers because she's doing follow-up, right, Ms. Myers?
Yeah, Ms. Myers
Go ahead.
Ms. Myers, you
ma'am.
still have the floor.
Thank you. So I guess under that analysis, Mr. Staley, any citizen who is unhappy with the work that the county either completed or did not complete on his or her road should be entitled to go to the CTC and encumber $500,000 worth of road work without or notwithstanding whether it's on a priority list or not, because, you know, Goffman Road, which I raise every time we get in these conversations, has for years been half paved and half unpaved, and we did that work. And there's a 94-year-old lady who's landlocked on that road every time it rains. And to the extent that, you know, all she's got to do is go to the CTC. If anybody had said that some time ago, I think I'd have taken her there. So I'm troubled by how this came before us. I'm troubled by this process because it seems blatantly unfair, given all the roads and all the desperation that there is out there for people to have their road work done. And we just dealt with the whole question of, in a subdivision that's not, you know, completed, what's the county's responsibility, back and forth. And I think we were working to get our hands around that. I can't support this project because I think that it would encourage others to do exactly what's been done here. And pretty soon we would have very little way of determining what roads were priorities, what roads weren't, and citizens would be, in my opinion, disenfranchised. Thank you.
Ms. McBride, not Ms. McBride, I apologize, Madam Chair. Ms. Dickerson, this is Leonardo. May I respond briefly, ma'am? I think you're muted, Ms. Dickerson. I'm not sure if you gave me an opportunity to speak.
Okay, all right, I hit the wrong button. I'm sorry. I was trying to get Ms. McBride. But yeah, first of all, Mr. Brown, Ms. McBride, would you yield to Mr. Brown?
I will yield to Mr. Brown. He may.
Mr. Brown, you recognize.
Okay, so Ms. Myers asked a question, and Councilman Myers asked a question in terms of the process of approving items that have come from the CTC to the council. No, ma'am, I have not established that. I was actually in a transportation COG meeting not too long ago when I learned that as a part of the COG, that they have a process by which they make determinations utilizing the CTC that's separate and apart of Richland County, and this can happen. So no, ma'am, I have not figured out or decided how to deal with that at this point, but I was interested to learn that these decisions are made and can be made outside of Richland County, but affect Richland County as we're talking about right now. So I'll stop there.
Ms. McBride, you recognize.
Yeah, Mr. Brown partially addressed the concerns that I was raising. And Madam Chair, you're aware of the County Transportation Committee. And I'm started thinking that we probably need to go back to them and look at their process that they're using, because it's definitely something that's not properly used, in my opinion. And that for us to have limited or no input regarding this, and I couldn't agree more with what Ms. Myers said. In fact, all of my colleagues. So I do have concerns, and I think that it's when you see the CTC County Transportation Committee, people think that it's our committee.
Absolutely.
And so that's sort of misleading. So in giving instructions and directions about the discussion, we need to let those know that this is not Richland County's Transportation Committee. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you all.
My hands up for a while.
Before you go, I'm going to make a motion before we go any further with this. My motion would be to either to deny or defer this particular project until we have a better understanding on it and it is vetted so that it falls in line with all the rest of the projects and that it doesn't jump over all other projects that's currently being as we prioritize them. So I would make a motion to either.
And that's what I want. That's what I was going to do, was withdraw my motion and make one similar to that. But Mr. Livingston.
All right. Well, I'll withdraw it and let you make the motion, Mr. Malinowski, and someone can second it.
Okay.
Because I think
Madam Chair.
you did it much more. Yes, Ms. McBride.
One final question is, will we lose this funding? Are we in jeopardy of losing the funding?
Well, that's what I was going to address in my motion.
Oh, you would address that in your, okay.
Yeah.
He's going to address it in his motion, Ms.
I'm waiting for
McBride.
Mr. Livingston to talk.
Mr. Livingston, you're recognized.
Thank you very, very much. Madam Chair, I think this is bigger than just this one road we're talking about. This is a matter that we need to take up with the CTC and the delegation.
Right.
Because I cannot blame our staff. If someone came and said, gee, we have these funds, and staff says, yeah, this road could use the funding, I'll accept the funding too. If the option is not to have the funding for the road at all. And so we need to have this conversation with the CTC and the delegation to talk about how we play a role in making sure we deal with priorities in the county.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, Mr.
Madam Chair.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm gonna ask Mr. Malinowski, can you redo the motion so we can see whether or not it will address these concerns that we have regarding the
Again, but Mr. Walker, I think wanted to add something first.
Mr. Walker, you are recognized. Did I hear Mr. Walker?
There was somebody.
Madam Chair, this is Director Maloney.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
Mr. Maloney.
Yes, the fund will just go to the fund balance of the CTC if not used. We have the same problem with this, and we have an outstanding meeting with the director of the CTC that we've been wanting to get to for some time regarding this. And we will be addressing how we want these to go through the county as far as our road rating system. So this one was one that had been submitted before I was even here. And you're right, it was, when you get these projects, they are for a specific project that CTC approves, so you either take it or you don't take it. So we brought this before you as it is, primarily because it had been part of the Penny project in one segment of it. But we will take it forth with whatever direction you go with this.
Will we lose funds on it if we defer to get more? I want to hear Mr. Malinowski's motion before I, ask you.
Okay.
Mr. Malinowski, would you articulate your motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My motion would be that we direct staff to engage the CTC in conversation to determine moving forward and including this particular funding, how they determine that funds should be provided to Richland County to have roads taken care of. And that if we can also ask them that this money be set aside for what Richland County believes is the best use of it for possibly another road, because of the fact that
Prioritize.
for prioritization, because the county has not had the opportunity to do that. And that would be my motion.
Can I get a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Properly moved in second. Any further discussion on that motion? Mr. Livingston, did you have?
Well, Madam Chair, I just want to say, let's just keep in mind, my main reason why I'm saying we need to talk to the delegation and the CTC is, remember now, if the intent was for us to use the money and being in control of the money, then money would have been directed to the county council, not the delegation and CTC. So, so that's the reason why we're not making a decision. We got to decide, can they let us be engaged in the process somehow?
Okay. Well, so Mr. Malinowski, this is really a very serious thing right here because it pushes other roads that may be higher prioritized than this road. So Mr. Malinowski, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Going along with what Chair Livingston said, I would also like staff to ask the CTC what criteria was used by them in making this decision, who the people were that brought this forward to them, who it was presented to, if this was something the delegation took to them. I mean, they're you know.
They didn't come to me, I can tell you like that.
What's that?
I was not engaged in the process, so.
Yeah, and I wasn't either, and we kind of split some of that area, but I think we need to actually get all the methods behind what the CTC is doing and make sure that we're not having politics come into play here and these things are being done in a way that they should not be done because of favoritism. Thank you. Okay, so what, if there's no further discussion on this item, it was probably moved in second. Miss Only, do you have clarity on the motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. I will call for, I will call for a roll call on this motion on this item.
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Walker, Myers.
Okay, all right. Well, the next, that motion passed because it was 3. The next item will be item 3E, airport construction contract award recommendation. Look on page 32 on my agenda, 32 to 43. And I would entertain a motion for discussion on this item.
Madam Chair, I move to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second. It's probably moved in second. Discussion.
Ms. Dickerson,
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Myers, you are.
am I correct? Thank you. Am I correct in understanding that all of this is going to be funded out of CARES Act money?
That's what my understanding is.
Madam Chairman, Chris Eversman here. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Everson.
Ms. Myers, it actually is FAA's Airport Improvement Program, AIP funds, which we receive every year, but because of the CARES Act, instead of 90% federal funding, it will be 100% federal funding.
Thank you.
Therefore, there will not be a need for a state or local match.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's been properly moved in second. Any further discussion?
Madam Chairman, Chris Eversman here. One more
Yes.
time, just a quick request. I've had some discussions with Budget Director Hayes this morning, and a condition for the award of this contract is acceptance of the grant. The grant has been issued. If you would just include in the motion that the motion would include acceptance of the federal grant as well, that will clear up any question or concern about that.
Mr. Malinowski, will you modify your motion?
Well, let me go back to the page here where it is. What page was that on, Mr. Eversman?
I believe in the new agenda, it starts on page 32, sir.
32, Mr. Malinowski.
Okay, and the motion is to approve award of the construction contract. And now what is it you want added?
Yes, sir. Just also acceptance of the associated FAA grant.
Well, you have the condition for award is issuance of an FAA improvement program grant. I guess it just seems like we're double working here, but if that's what it is, I'll add that to it.
It does seem redundant.
That's what I thought.
Well, if that's the case,
That's what you need. Go ahead.
we're getting CARES fund. If we're getting CARES fund, what are you gonna do with the FAA's fund?
Ma'am, the grant is FAA Airport Improvement Program grant. It is just that because of the CARES Act, instead of 90% funding, we get 100% funding. It is a better deal for us.
Mr. Eversman, if that's something we have to have here, even though it seems redundant to me, I'll just include it in my motion, please.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Okay. All right, so who's second that motion?
I did, I think.
Okay, all right, so with that, if there's no further discussion, I will ask Ms. Only to call the roll for this item, please. Ms. Only?
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Walker, Myers.
Thank you. Next item will be item 3F, solid waste host community agreement. Page 44 through 50 on this item, please. Dr. Thompson, are you over this particular one?
Yes, ma'am. If I can brief
Dr.
you.
Thompson, I would ask for you to give us first of all, I entertain a motion so we can have discussion.
I would move for approval, Madam Chair, and I don't need that. We need Dr. Thompson to just keep restating what's in front of us here.
All right, well, I just wanted to know.
I'm fine with that. It's the second time we're seeing all this.
All right, well, if you.
You better take that, Madam Chair.
Yeah, do I hear a second on this real quick?
Well, on this one, but not on all of them, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, we'll take a motion on this one. It's been properly moved in second. Do I hear any further discussion on this item?
I still have discussion. I just wanted to save some time with Dr. Thompson repeating everything. Dr. Thompson, is there any language in here, maybe I missed, that refers to the increase or decrease of fees based on the economic situation we're in?
No, sir. No, sir. Not to my knowledge. No, sir. Not at all.
Sir, this is Director Maloney. It uses the consumer price index for any rate increases. So they're holding the same rate as last year's at $26.89 a ton for our waste going to the landfill, and returns $175 per ton for materials coming from other counties into the landfill as a host community that we are. And then our rate for disposal will go up based on the consumer rate.
Can it also go down?
If the consumer price index does go down, it will go down.
It will go down.
I understand it's somewhere around 1% right now, sir.
CP with the CPI.
I've got two more questions here. And one is there any reason we don't make it a 5-year contract renewable annually? Because if we don't make it renewable annually, it seems to me that we're letting them know, hey, you got it for 5 years, regardless of the service you provide us.
You want to modify your motion to include that, Mr. Malinowski?
Unless there's some reason why not, that's what I would like to do.
Well, can someone answer that question briefly for us? We got like about 12 minutes. We got 2 more items.
This is Director Maloney. I would say, just based on past experience with what the county has had, and some of the lengthy negotiations we had with Waste Management, generally they've been saying that the consumer price index has been inadequate on their part as owner of this. And so the CPI is favorable to the county based on other price increases being much higher than the consumer price index. So that was part of our lengthy negotiations with them over the last few months. Was they wanted to be much higher than the $26.89 per ton, and we let them know that we would probably have to find another landfill and RFP and all that if they were asking for anything like that. So I would say it is favorable to stick with the CPI for 5 years.
Okay, and why is it that we charge so little for waste coming from out of the county versus what's coming from in the county?
That's actually because the other counties are also paying some similar amount and even higher amounts, as they alluded to with us. That's for their use of space, land, compaction, and all that. They're just paying us a host fee back for the other counties' use of the same facility.
We've been through this before.
Yeah, okay. And the only last question that I have is on page 46 of our agenda, which says it's the third addendum to host a community agreement for disposal of the solid waste. 1, 2, 3. In the fourth whereas, it says until June 30th, 2030. Yet in all of our write-ups here, it says June 30th, 2025. So can you explain why we have 2030 there?
It should be 25, yes, sir.
Well, make that correction, Mr. Malinowski, and then.
Madam
Yes.
Chair, one question.
Yeah, okay, Miss.
Oh, I know you're trying to rush. Okay. But, what happens if we don't, if the issues, there are issues and we don't want to use this facility anymore? What happens then? I'm going back to Mr. Malinowski's question about the annual review.
Yes, ma'am. There aren't a lot of options. The setup for this is pretty immense.
Okay.
To set that up with the environmental impacts and everything that are involved.
This is Art Braswell, General Manager of Solid Waste Division. That reference you made to the addendum there just a minute ago, Mr. Malinowski, that June 30th, 2030 is correct. What it does is it goes through 2025 and allows for an additional extension. If the county decides to move forward and extend it again, it would give you through 2030. That's what that statement is.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, I will, if there's no further discussion, Miss Only, would you please call the roll on this for me, please? Miss Only? Miss Only?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Walker, Myers.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Next item will be 3G. Can we get to this one briefly on this? Because we got one more item that's kind of really serious.
Let's just start it, I guess.
I entertain a motion for discussion. Can somebody do?
I'll move to approve for discussion.
I have a motion to approve, probably moved in second. Discussion. Mr. Malinowski, you got discussion?
Yeah, Madam Chair, on page 52 of our agenda, it does state in the last paragraph above the attachment portion, it says as new developments are added to the county sewer system, there will be an increase in the general cost of operation, maintenance, and possibly a need.
I saw that.
Now, so my question is, will these anticipated cost increases that we're asking for now cover all those expenses?
Dr. Thompson, can you answer that correctly, please, for me?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to ask Deputy Director Johnny Hussein to chime in. Johnny?
He needs to be real brief to give us a brief description. Please, sir. Hello?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, all right. Madam Chair. Yes, ma'am. Basically, the rate increase will not apply to anybody. We already have the tap fee which we collect from them, which will be used for the capacity of the plant increase, and the monthly rates that we charge the customers are the ones that are used for operation and maintenance of the system. Anytime we have increase, it will be just like a rate study and stuff done, so that will apply to across the board with everybody, not specifically for our development.
Okay, Ms. Myers, did you have a question?
No, ma'am, not on this one.
Answer your question, Mr. Malinowski.
Well, not really, Madam Chair, because the answer I'm getting is that we got costs coming in, we're going to throw them out to the customer, and we've got developers that are creating the costs, and I think they should chip in a fair share also. And if you go to page 55 of our agenda, the last sentence of this particular item, it says the PLC upgrade was discussed and agreed this will not be the responsibility of the developer as part of this project. Well, what is the cost for a PLC upgrade, number one? And whatever that cost is, if it weren't for the developer asking for it, the county nor the utility customers would be incurring it.
Can somebody answer that?
Madam Chair, can I speak?
Yes.
Madam Chair, this is Johnny. The PLC upgrade is done by another developer that is already in process and paying for that PLC. So we could not charge this developer with that PLC cost because it was already been taken care of.
Okay, so Richland County will not be bearing any charges for any of this now or in the future.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, if no further questions on that, we have a motion. It was motion second. All in favor, Ms. Only, please call the roll on this. We got one more item.
Yes, ma'am. Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Walker, Myers.
Yes.
All right, next item will be 3H. When we got 3 minutes, so let's 3H. Miss, someone please tell me why this is back.
I move to disapprove that, Madam Chair.
I have a motion to disapprove. Do I hear a second? I second it for discussion. Okay.
Madam Chair, am I recognized?
Yes, you recognize, Ms. Myers. Ms. Myers, you recognized.
So, Dr. Thompson?
Yes.
Dr. Thompson, are you on the
Yes,
line?
ma'am. I'm here.
So I read your briefing document, and your briefing document outlines costs to connect Richland One schools. But what are we connecting them to without a system, which is a system that was built for the schools? So would these freestanding numbers connect them to anything?
The cost of 2.794 million is the cost to connect them to a system that the
Yes, but my question is, do these costs make any sense without the $30 million system that's being built?
Absolutely, because those who are using the system, the monthly charges will contribute to the maintenance of the entire
Right.
structure.
Can you put, what I'm saying is, this is like a tire for a car. Don't you have to have the car before you can put the tire on it?
Yes, ma'am.
So to the extent that they're being connected to a system, and I guess I'm sensitive to this because I have carried the water for this system to get these schools fixed. And I personally find it outrageous that after all the guff I've taken with not one school board member standing up to help Richland County get this thing to the finish line, that now they come back and say, oh, our only cost is $2.7 million and y'all are profiting off of us. The whole system is for the schools. And we have discussed this ad nauseum.
Right.
This is frustrating to me because no one from District 1, no one went to one meeting of which I held 26, took any bit of guff from the community, of which there still is a lot. And now they come back and say, somehow Ms. Myers is trying to help the county profit off of District 1, when District 1 is essentially getting a $30 million system put in place to fix its schools that have had this problem for more than 15 years. I am personally affronted that we are now dealing with this again. When Joyce Dickerson was chair of this committee, of the council, we dealt with this, a meager contribution of $2.5 million to what is a Richland District 1 problem in a $30 million fix. It's just galling to me, and I think it's unfair to even be discussing this again.
Yeah,
that's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So, Ms. Myers, Ms. Alicia Myers, did you have a question on this real quick? We got a minute and a half, real quick, because I second Ms. Myers' motion. Miss.
No, ma'am. It was just on in case there's more questions for Dr. Thompson.
Okay. Are there any further questions?
I really don't understand the full request being made, Madam Chair.
Okay. So, can somebody explain to her in 30 seconds?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Dickerson, John Thompson, I may.
Yes, 30 seconds.
All right. So the bottom line with this is there's a series of events. So really quick, total cost for the system is $2.79 million to build out the infrastructure for the 3 schools. We received a request, Administrator Brown received a letter on May 13th from a member of the Richland One School
See, that's what,
stating that they don't need to offer the additional $500,000 to Richland County for this project. On May 19th, we received communication from DHEC that they will invest $1 million towards the development of the infrastructure at the 3 schools. So looking at a total commitment of $2 million from the schools, $1 million from DHEC, that's $3 million, which leaves a surplus of $205,000. In the IGA that is currently being developed, we're asking that if it costs more than the $205,000 to close out the 3 lagoons, to decommission those lagoons, because we find toxins in those lagoons, that we will go back to Richland One Schools for them to fully compensate the county as we decommission those 3 lagoons. Thank you, ma'am.
So right
Okay.
now, it's not a cost to the council, to the county.
Say again?
At this current time, there's no cost to the county.
At this time, no, ma'am, not with the money coming in, but it could be, very likely could be once we close out those 3 lagoons.
absolutely.
Can I say something really quickly, Madam Chair?
Please quickly, because I have Mr.
There
Mallory.
is a cost to the county.
And
Dr.
we've got-
Thompson, with all due respect, Dr. Thompson, your briefing document misses the very big point that unless we build the $30 million system, you can't connect the $2.7 million to it.
Absolutely.
So we're building the 30 million to get to the 2.5. So they should bear a portion. I mean, they're not even being asked to bear 2% of the cost of a system that is fundamentally being built for the schools. So yes, the last mile of it, when you get to those 3 schools, maybe 2.7 to 3 million. But you got to get to build. You got to get to the point where you can build that portion, and that's the $30 million piece.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how we're even at this point where the school systems with a straight face can come back and say, oh, we're only costing $2.7 million and y'all are making money. We're not making money. It's a $30 million system for the schools.
I know we're a minute over, but Mr. Malinowski's hand was
That's fine.
up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Myers said exactly what I wanted to do, but I'd also like to say that didn't hear it references an IGA. Seems to me if we're talking about something here that we want to approve, that we should be seeing this IGA also. So I would make a motion that we keep this in committee, the IGA and these other answers get brought to us by the time it comes back the next committee meeting.
Is that your motion? I second it. And if there's no further discussion on this, Ms. Only, would you please call the roll to keep this in committee, because this is a very sensitive item and we really, for them to send something in May and all of us did not have a chance to vet this. Would you please call the roll on Mr. Malinowski's motion?
Malinowski,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Walker, Myers.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And thank you all so very much for taking the time on this Tuesday afternoon to continue this. And we are back on schedule for the A&F committee. I want to thank you so much. We're 2 minutes over. With that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second. Call the roll, Miss Only.
Malinowski, Dickerson,
Yes.
I had to unmute me, yes.
okay. McBride,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody, thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye, Mr. Livingston.